$1 billion. Show me this year that you can cut it out of the system and come back to the table, and I'll be more than likely to listen to you. But until then, I don't believe that you can magically cut $500 billion in waste without taking away the benefits of seniors that they rely on this bill, that they rely on. So, thank you. Sir, I know you had a question.
Yes. You are pro-life?
Yes.
Otherwise, my wife and I wouldn't be here.
All right.
I would ask you this. What do you say to the opposition that keeps claiming, well, where's the GOP when they were in there? How come they're talking about doing this and talking about doing portability and going after these people? Where was George Bush and where was Ronald Reagan and yada, yada, yada? You know, and I don't get anything, but the GOP has to be far more aggressive.
Yeah.
On that.
I'm going to tell you part of the problem we're up against. Let me first off say, I fully agree with people that say, where was the GOP when all this was going on? I am the first to throw stones and say, we absolutely failed on many things when we were in office. But, this is a new day. We have an opportunity to put a new group of folks in office that understand what those principles that we've always campaigned on and talked about really mean. The GOP in the past spent way too much money. We all know that. I've also said that they never addressed the problem of real health care costs. There is a health care cost. There's a problem with people that can't get insurance because of pre-existing conditions. I don't think people should be denied insurance because of pre-existing conditions. How do we get to that point where it's accessible, where we can afford to do it? How can we get to that point as a nation? These are the things we need to address. And unfortunately, since we didn't, I mean, many in our own party had got more interested in, passing out dollars and by the way, folks, I want you to watch as the newspaper comes out and you see things. Watch the money that trickles into the district and ends up with stories on the front page of the paper with the congresswoman's face up there, and take note of it. And it already has. Watch. Because voting for this bill, voting for the stimulus, voting for cap and trade, voting for card check, voting for a lot of things that are out of line with what this district wants comes with a payoff. Stand by and see what that payoff is and take notes and remember. And write a letter to your paper or tell your friends when you see it. So watch very diligently. To answer that question though, I believe that we did fail at that in a lot of things. I'll tell you in a second. But I believe we did fail. I believe we did fail in a lot of areas. We have got to take that again. That's why we're playing defense on this issue, because we weren't compassionate enough to people that have pre-existing conditions, that talked about the cost of health care. And I believe we need to be very compassionate about that and really solve this problem. I used to fly a KC-135, which is a mid-air refueler. So if you've ever seen planes get refueled in the air, I used to do that. Now I fly an RC-26, which is a low-level reconnaissance plane. When we're stateside, we do counter-drug and counter-narcotics, work with FBI, DEA, state police, all that kind of stuff. Homeland defense, hurricane relief, things along that line in a reconnaissance mission. Overseas, we're part of the special operations. And actually, the plane I fly now is not faster than the P-51. The one I used to is... you have a question, and then we'll go back here, ma'am. Go ahead, sir. All right.
I would be abused nothing is actually better than what we just had. Are you willing to place everyone here to repeal this bill before we start anything else?
Yeah, as I talked about with the repeal and restart, I believe we need to repeal this bill. In fact, we know it's not going to pass, but there was a 40-word bill that was introduced which calls for the immediate repeal of this bill. And it's kind of funny. If I can find the words, I'll read them. Yeah, here it is. Effective as of the enactment of the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, such act is repealed, and the provisions of law amended or repealed by such act are restored or revived as if such act had not been enacted.
That's not government.
Yes, I believe so. But if we get to a point where we can repeal this, and folks, I have no doubt it's going to be tough. It's a very tough thing to do. But once this is repealed, it is absolutely incumbent upon us to attack the problem in a very aggressive way. because folks, I do not want people with pre-existing conditions